to start with the panel a little bit earlier just so we have more time for Q&A, because I know a lot of people will have questions at the end. So to begin with, thank you all so much for attending today. I love seeing people come to this panel. I am the OC Doctor, and welcome to the Doctors in Original Characters 101. So to begin with, who is the OC Doctor? Well, that is me. I've been the OC Doctor since about Trotcon 2017, 2018. I have 20 plus years of experience of making OCs. I do have a major in English with an emphasis in graphic novels, which meant I went to college for 4 years and studied comic books. That was honestly the greatest and worst decision of my life. I'm also known as Captain Unstoppable on Film Fiction. I write a lot of stories on there. And I've been the pre-reader and editor for the original The Origins and Secrets of the D-List Supervillain. A very fun book series if you ever want to get into. Very fun characters and very fun ideas to go throughout that entire book. So, what is an OC? I think we all have a good idea what an OC is, but we're just going to start off with the definition of it. If I can get it to work. Aha! An original character is a fictional character and fan work who is the creation of the fan work's author, artist, rather than part of the official canon. That's from the Webster Dictionary. And my favorite is Urban Dictionary, because they always come up with the best definitions for everything. The original character is created by the author. They may be a totally made-up character or based on a living person. OCs are a creative way of explaining a fandom, bringing the writer's own personal touch on a fandom. OCs give a reader a little insight into someone's imagination and can be amazing. And honestly, that last part I cannot emphasize enough. I love seeing OCs because they're always so amazing. There's always a new idea in there. And I honestly love when anyone brings me a new OC. So today we're going to be going over the 8 rules I follow personally when I make an original character. Those rules are the Tavern Rule, the Wagner Rule, the Stan Lee Rule, the Uncle Rule, the Freeze Rule, the Consultation Rule, the Stage Rule, and the Doctor Rule. So today we're going to start off with the Tavern Rule. Now to begin with, I'm a huge Dungeons & Dragons nerd. I love D&D. Because there's so much fun to be having in this chaotic world that, honestly, just being part of it is so much fun. But what is the Tavern Rule? This is the beginning of your character. This is where we're making the meat and bones of your character, basically. Where are they from? What are their powers? I did not even hit anything that's happened. That's awesome. The race, class, background. Stop moving ahead of me, PowerPoint. That's always a fun thing. Technology does not like to work with you. I did not bring up the comedy side today.
Oh, did we start already? Sorry. Did I miss so much?
So this is the basics of your character. We just started, so you're good. These are the, so basically when we're starting with the OC, Tavern Rule is where we want to start off with. This is the meat and bones. Are they going to be a basic human? Are they going to be an exotic character of some kind in this world? Another reason why I love D&D is because we have so many fun races to work with. We have half-orcs, gnomes, dwarves, halflings. So much fun to be having there. That's why I personally love D&D. But for your original works or for My Little Pony work, this is also the same thing. Because races have a lot of fun in there. You have Pegasi, you have unicorns, alicorns, bat ponies, diamond dogs. It's all over the place, and there's so much fun that we have there. But how does it affect the character, and how does it affect the world? Do people judge your character by their race already by just meeting them? Do people know what they are? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of them being from that race? As in, half-orcs are stronger, they're faster than a normal character, Pegasi can fly, unicorns can do magic, bird ponies are stronger than a normal pony. There's a lot of fun to be had with this, and it all depends on where you want to go with the character. And that's where the class comes into. Classes to me is what is their job? Are they a wizard? Are they a paladin? Are they a fighter of some kind? Are they a wizard, a princess? What powers do they have according to this? Or what abilities are they granted by being part of this class? Now, again, if this is your original works, that's where more world building comes in and why the Tavern Rule is so important. Because this is the basics of your character and how do we see them as part of our own society. And this is also where we come up with the background. What has shaped your character getting to this point? where did they come from, what's their story up to this point that we're meeting them as the reader, as the observer of any kind. And honestly, this is the time that your imagination can run wild. Just have fun with the character at this point. Please go false to all of this, because there's so much to be had at this point. Let your imagination run wild. Let any idea that you have incorporate it in somehow. We'll work on getting those ideas molded together later on in the rules. But at this rule, it's all about having fun with the character. It's about just seeing what you can do with them. So we're going to move on to the second rule, the Wagner rule. Which is awesome. Technology issues are just the greatest thing in the world to me. So this is based off Kurt Wagner, and his quote is, "Every character should want something, even if it's only to get a glass of water." Every character needs a motivation. It can be a simple motivation, it can be a complex motivation. But why does a character need motivation? It's so we can root for them. It's having us the goal to go after that motivation with them. So what does the character want? Up front, we see Dr. Doom. He wants power. All of us want money. Money's great. Rainbow Dash was to become a Wonderbolt, and Milo Thatch from Lost Empire of Atlantis was to discover knowledge. These are four very drastic motivations that we can all really understand. But the fun part of this whole thing is, why does the character want this? Why are they so obsessed with this motivation? And the first one, Dr. Doom, one of Marvel's greatest villains. The ruler of Latveria. Why does he want power? It's because he wants to save the world. Dr. Doom is obsessed with saving the world. And it's not just getting back at Reed Richards, even though that's a big part of his character. Dr. Doom knows he can save the world if given the right tools. In almost every universe we see of What If, Dr. Doom actually does save the world. He becomes the greatest thing in the universe. Now, the next thing, money. Money has a lot of uses. Medical bills is one. I'm currently with that with broken ribs. Don't get into car accidents, it's not fun. But money can be an evil power or it can be a great power. All depends on what you use it for. And that's a great motivation for any character. Now, this could be as simple as, paying your rent. It could be as simple as paying a payment on the car, or a payment because of your next world domination scheme needs a death laser. And those are very expensive, let me tell you that. But money is a great motivator because it has sub-motivations. And when you have sub-motivations for your character, we're having more depth. Now, why did not Twilight Sparkle, wow. Rainbow Dash want to become a Wonderbolt. Well, it's always been her dream, but it's also part of she wants more friends. It's her way of connecting with people. It's a dream she always had, and that dream has given her more friends throughout that entire journey, which is always a great thing. And Rainbow Dash has been one of my favorite characters because of that. She had a very tangible dream from the very start, and she trained constantly. Her motivation kept her going. We never saw her do anything that would deny her her dream. And last one is, again, Lost Empire of Atlantis. Milo wanted to find more knowledge. He wanted to become better at what he was than what he already was. And throughout this journey, he did find what he was looking for. He found knowledge, but he also found a sense of belonging he never felt on top of the surface world. He found that down in Atlantis, which means motivations can change. Halfway through your story, your character's motivation can drastically change because of new and wonderful or chaotic situations. And that is something that I also love. Is what is your character willing to sacrifice to get that motivation? And this is when we can really play through dark with our characters. Because what are they willing to give up to get further? If anyone's ever watched Full Metal Alchemist, one of my favorite lines is that in that whole show is, to achieve anything, you have to sacrifice something of equal or greater value. And that's very true for a lot of us. I sacrifice money to go to college so I can become better educated. I sacrifice time to make this PowerPoint better. And finally learned from my mistakes, I need to download this thing before I start a panel. And make the backup copies of my backup copies. I think this is the first time my panel's actually been working from the very start. And that's scary. But every character you introduce into a story needs to have a motivation. And that motivation can be anything you want to be, as long as it furthers that character's goals and furthers the story. Don't throw in a character that has motivation for something random and never come back to that. Every character you introduce should have a motivation that is achievable in some ways. Even again, if it's simply to get a glass of water. Now we're going to go into my favorite rule of all this, the Stan Lee rule. Now who here has heard of Stan Lee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pretty much everyone, that's a great thing. If you've never heard of Stan Lee, you need to get out of this room right now. Stan Lee revolutionized Marvel Comics. He revolutionized comics together with one very simple thing. All characters need a flaw, a very human flaw. Again, being ponies, a pony flaw, but you understand the basics of what I'm saying. No character is perfect. And when you have a perfect character, it's boring. It's, why do I care? I already know they're going to achieve their goals. There's nothing there to be gained. And all honesty, flaws make characters relatable. Relatable flaws are the greatest thing in the world. Now, let's look at Superman. His flaw, I'm scared of a green rock. Personally, I don't know of many rocks except for uranium that if I get near it, it's going to kill me. And I don't think I'm ever going to be near uranium. Only being around it once, and that was a bad idea. But let's talk about some of those flaws. Now, up here, I have characters from lots of different shows, different medias. The top left one is one of my favorite book series of all time, Those the Dresden Files. And there's a little backstory about this flaw here. Now, my dad wanted this son who's going to be this athletic star, who's going to be this hulking, manly guy, football team, basketball team. He got the nerdy son. Pretty sure my dad committed sin in his previous life. But my dad's always supported me. He's always been very, very helpful, very encouraging to me. One thing we always did was we went on road trips to Pennsylvania to see his family. That is a stupidly long spell. If someone wants to do me a favor, go grab my charger from the vendor hall, I'll be really happy. Just ask the Plushy guys, they have my charger. Otherwise my laptop might die. But we're going to keep going. So the flaw that Dresden Files has is Harry Dresden is extremely tall. He's 6'9".
Which Plushy guys is that?
If you go to the vendor hall, just turn to the left. You know where my booth is in the vendor hall?
Yeah.
Look for the giant sign that says the OC Doctor, and you turn left to them.
Yeah. Okay.
You go, oh, Wanderer dude, you got it? Sweet, thank you, man. He's 6'9", and in the books he describes how he can't go into a normal hotel. He can't get in a normal car because he's so tall that I know my battery is running low. Stop yelling at me. And it's fine. No, this is what I say. I don't have any technology flaws. This is all my own fault. But anyway, I want to keep going because I know this by heart and hopefully we'll get my charger soon. But he will talk about how he can't duck his head underneath the shower head because they're made for people shorter. My dad, whenever he listens to a book, he wants something relatable because he's not big into fantasy. Harry Dresden's a wizard. He looked at me, he's like, fine, we'll give this a listen for an hour. If I cannot stand it, we're going to go back to Leonardo da Vinci. My dad rewound that part about the shower, played it again. Rewound it, played it again. My dad is 6'6". And he started slapping the steering wheel going, yes! Yes! This is how it is! Because he hates when people complain about, I'm not tall. My dad would love to be shorter because he has to buy clothes. He can't get buy clothes off the rack because he's so tall. He has to look at rental cars before he can buy them because he is afraid he's going to not be able to fit inside of them. And so when my dad talks about relatable flaw, it's hyped with Harry Dresden, and he got him hooked on this book series just because of that alone. Now the next part of that was going to be Peter Parker with Tony Stark. There has never been a character more flawed than Peter Parker Spider-Man. Because Stan Lee created Spider-Man to be human, to be everything we are as well. What problems has Peter Parker not run into? He's run into money problems, relationship problems. He's run into every problem we do. And he started off as a nerd as well. Wanderer, I love you. Love both of you people. Thank you, good sir. I mean, Peter Parker started off as a nerd, and I think all of us here are nerds. I'm safely assuming that we're all nerds. If you're a jock, get out. Please work. I'll decide to save me.
I should gotta like start all over again. Like,
I shouldn't have to, but if I do, I'm just click. And also, all you really missed was just me introducing who I am. I'm the OC Doctor. Please work. Anyway, what else did I have on that panel? Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four. Another character that Stan Lee created. And I love him because he's one of the first heroes you ever see in comic books who can't turn off his powers. He's always in this giant rock form. So everything around him has been changed drastically because, again, he can't turn off the powers. In one of my favorite book series of all time, Soon I'll Be Invincible, they talk about how superheroes sometimes can't turn off their powers. When they go to the bathroom, sometimes they break off the lever on the toilet because of their super strength. They don't know how to explain why they have a black eye the next day at this job that, like, I work at. I'm a school teacher. Why do you have a black eye today? I fell down the stairs. Again? I'm very clumsy. I should enroll in ballet. But again, these are flaws that are very relatable to people. Like how my dad is so tall and he can't turn that off when he wants to be. My sister, who has extreme OCD, cannot turn that off to save her life. I know she would love to, having 3 kids, but she can't. She has an OCD.
yay, it's not
In fact, again, technology problems follow me everywhere I go. I might be secretly. If I am, it's well kept secret because I don't even know.
I'm beginning to turn to kind of self-fulfilling, though. Like, you did that one to yourself.
Aha! We're back on track, people. Awesome. Now, the last character on this is Saitama for One Punch Man. Who here has watched One Punch Man? I absolutely love this anime because it gives us a very powerful character. It's in the title. He beats everyone in one punch. What is his flaw? He's bored.
Yeah.
He's emotionally distant. This guy is going through stages of depression. And most creative types know what depression is. And my God, does Saitama go through that? He can barely get out of bed some mornings because there's no more enjoyment in his life. He wanted that fight. He wanted to feel that feeling of exhilaration. Now he just beats everyone with one punch. And he's flawed in that. And it makes me so, like, I can't explain how much I love this flaw. Because again, he is what a Gary Sue should be, but he's beating that stereotype. Now, on to the next rule. It's a very, very important rule. Who here watched Jackie Chan Adventures growing up? Very cool. So most of you know who this character is.
Oh, yeah.
This is Uncle. He was one of my favorite characters of all time. This is one of his, pretty much the only thing he ever shouted. Research. Always, always, always do research. I'm like in my classroom right now. Do your research. Research is the most important thing. And when you don't know, will hurt you. I cannot stress that enough. Because when we are writing a character of any kind, we gotta make sure we understand this character. We have to understand, if you're writing a character based in World War II, you should have a pretty good knowledge of World War II. Who were the Allies? Who were the Axis? Don't be like my class that I had to drill into your heads. Who were the Nazis? Who were the Axis powers? Germany? Yes, yes, Germany!
Italy.
You would have passed this class.
First two.
Then they're like, who else was the Axis power? Germany? Yes, yes, we said that. It was a very painful class. This was very
enemy of War II. You don't know many of us.
They're pretty much, they're supposed to be the AP or college advanced college credit class as well. That's scary.
Oh.
And one of the things about this is Deadpool syndrome. I included research because of Deadpool. everyone wants to make a crazy character that they can be like, oh, he's schizophrenic, has a multi-personality disorder. Look at him, he's psychotic. If you don't know what these mental diseases are, don't write about them. They're not funny. They're not there to be for your amusement. Deadpool is a highly depressed character. He is someone who is constantly suffering from so many mental problems. And to see people just say, meh, it's fine, annoys me like no other. One thing I put in here was the Marvel Cinematic Universe Thor. Thor Endgame made me mad. Why? Because his depression was a joke. I had a lot of military friends who hated that movie so much because they were just like, oh, here's another cheese puff fatty. Don't be upset. You're okay. And it drove them insane. A lot of them do have PTSD, and that's what Thor had, was PTSD. And someone like Captain America, who is the World War II vet, who is the ultimate soldier, should have been pounding on Thor's door every other day. And going back to the whole concept of research, whenever you have a character that you need to do research on, take as much time as needed to do full research on that character and those abilities of them. I have spent hours on research. When I was trying to get a character's name in Russian, one of my best buddies is Russian, so I asked him, hey, how do I do this? We had a 45-minute conversation, but I did not know how specific Russian names were. That they were a combination of Western Europe names and like surnames in like China, Japan, and Korea. That there's a given name, a familial name, and then your true name, which blew my mind. And also, apparently during the communist era of the Soviet Union, Tractor was a common last name. Tractor. I love that. I wish my last name was Tractor sometimes. So on to our next rule, and again, do your research. Never do anything without research. This is also a great rule if you're in school. Do your research. Get some A's. Don't be like me, just get C's. C's get degrees, and A's and B's get your jobs. There's a rhyme to that, but I forgot the rest of the rhyme. The freeze rule. I love Alex Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. That's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. And Buddy the Elf. But freeze. This is time to stop. Double check your work. Go back to the tavern rule. Go back to the Wagner rule, the Stan Lee rule, and the Uncle rule. Double check to see if you're on track with your character. Is everything still working how you want it to? Did you hit everything in your tavern rule about what you want your character to be? Is there anything in here that's like saying, oh, I forgot to explain where they came from, or you know what, I said they were from Russia, but I didn't get their proper name on this all of a sudden. Or is anything like that? Do their powers affect what they do? Is their motivation obtainable? Is it something that they're willing to sacrifice for? Or is there no motivation, so there's nothing for the character to do? So this is when you stop and look back. Double check. Also a great rule when you're in school. Double check your work, especially math. I might have failed that class a few times. And Spanish. Definitely Spanish. No hablo español, no hablo inglés. This is the consultation rule. This is not me saying, come to me and give me money to look at your OC. This is not what this rule is. This rule is to go to other people to get their opinions on your character and be open to those opinions. This is the greatest time in the world to take criticism on your character. This is when they're going to say, hey, that's a cool idea, or hey, that seems kind of, I've seen that somewhere before. Now, I'm not going to say every idea is going to be original. No idea is original. Every idea is stolen. Superman is basically the story of Moses. Both were found, Moses was in the river, Superman came from the stars, both in a little capsule, adopted by a family that loved and treated them better than their own family. I'm not kidding, every story's been written before. But this is the time where you will take a look at your character and see what other people think of them. And don't ever be afraid of critique. Now, I will say, I had a huge ego for years, being the OC doctor, going, I can make a perfect character any day of the week, just try me. I introduced a character to one of my friends, and he said it was the dumbest character he's ever heard of in his entire life. And we sat down and talked about it, And I said, oh, wow, he's right. I really messed up. So everyone can make mistakes. Embrace mistakes first off. Mistakes are there for us to learn. If you don't make mistakes, your life is not lived. But this is honestly one of the most important roles, is just go to people you trust. Go to your friends, go to anyone who kind of has the same hobbies and interests as you, and hear what they have to say about your character. And also, real quick, if anyone, I should have said this in the beginning, if I'm speaking too fast, please slow me down. That is something I do way too much. Another flaw of myself, I speak very, very fast. So please ask questions at the end if I spoke too fast over something. I heavily apologize for that. All right, now the stage rule. This is something as a theater kid I love. Now, I actually used to work for Disney World. And I loved working for Disney.
Is that you in the picture?
That is actually me. I was skinnier. I was more handsome.
You look like a pilot in that picture.
What?
You look like a pilot in that picture.
Oh, I was a monorail pilot. I actually love this role. This role. That's what they were called. We don't have jobs at Disney. We have roles. When we're out in the parks, we're on stage. And that's what you have to do with your characters. This is such an important role. It's so hard to explain sometimes. But when you're on stage, you're back up. I went too fast in my own mind. All right. So this role is saying to role play as your character. This is the time to embrace the role of your character. Not you as the author, not you as the creator of this. This is you playing as your character and seeing how they would interact in a situation. And these can be extraordinary situations. Saving the world, the damsel in distress, or the mundane. I am late for work, my car's not starting. Oh, my tires are flat. Wunderbar. This is to see how your character would react in any given situation. So you can write them a lot better, and you have a deeper understanding of your character. And again, it's what would your character do, not what you do. And sometimes, maybe your character fails. And that is also one of my favorite things in the world, is when your character fails. Now, again, one of my favorite characters in the world is Harry Dresden, the Wizard of Chicago. This guy has one of the greatest magical abilities in the world. He can control elements. He's fighting demons on the weekend. He is extraordinary. He is powerful. He has mixed his potion into his coffee. Oh, what have I done? Because he's human. He makes flaws. And what would you do in this situation? You're a very powerful wizard who's just put a potion in his coffee. Where has he? He can't remember. Oh no! And this is when, again, I love Dungeons and Dragons. If you've never played Dungeons and Dragons, when you get that one, that means you automatically fail whatever you're doing. And let's say you have a character that's a fighter. They're strong, they're brave, they're tough. They can break a board in half with their mind. And you're going, hey, I'm going to take down to this door to interrogate that guy. Okay, give me a ability check roll. 1. Your character, who is amazing at this, has just failed at something he's very good at. This is where the fun begins. You need to describe how they failed and how are they going to overcome this failure. Why did they fail? This door enchanted. Did they just have, are they really uncoordinated as well and kicked the brick wall instead, broke their foot? This is one of the fun parts of being a writer, a creator. This is when we can see how our hero fails and how do they overcome it. Because again, this is the stage rule. You're not thinking as yourself. Now, we can logically say something in a plan and say like, hey, he's just lost a loved one, but if he sits here and grieves, he's going to let the world die. As your character, they just lost someone they love out deeply, and they're going to be stricken with so much grief that their world is going to come to a screeching halt. And nothing else is going to matter except for this one thing. Now, as the reader, we're logically going to say, you gotta go that way, you gotta go that way. But you will understand as the character, he can't do that at that moment. He or she is just so distraught. And that's the fun part of this. again, going back to one of my favorite book series of all time, Soon I'll Be Invincible. The guy right here, Dr. Trotcon, one of the smartest men in the world. He is incredibly brilliant. This guy can make a supercomputer out of a few pieces of copper, some Legos, and a coffee cup from Starbucks. That's how smart this guy is. He's also an idiot. Because it's a relatable flaw, and because we get to see how this character interacts with the world when he does something stupid. What is his ability when his super smarts fails him? He ties a napkin to his face and says, I'm going to take on the world still. And I'm going to get beaten up by a 12-year-old. Fantastic. Now, I want to show you guys this rule in practice. These are characters I've created. These are some of my OCs. No, I did not draw these. I cannot do that. I draw stick figures. I give people money like crazy to draw stuff for me. And this is where we're going to have a little bit of fun discussion between us. So I'm going to ask you all to give me a situation. We're going to start with the guy on the far left. We're going to go to the guy on the far right. Actually, left, far right to the far. Directions are hard sometimes. You know what I mean. We're starting with the pirates. I'm going to have, so raise your hand. I'm going to call someone to give me a situation for this pirate to be there. The human warlock pirate who's lawful evil. Who's the situation? Yes.
House was robbed.
What then?
House was robbed.
House was robbed. So I gotta get into the voices. I have a voice for each one of these characters. Again, I'm not the best at it. This is how I roleplay as them.
But if he's a pirate, wouldn't he live on a boat or something?
Who knows? Maybe he's renting a room. Something's been robbed in a place that he feels safe. Give me 1 second here. Oh, bloody hell. Someone has broken Brotherhood. Well, I had 3 pieces of copper and a hand and sword. I was out stealing from someone else. Life goes on. Bloody hell. Next, we're going to go with Gamaliel, the Asmir Paladin Adventurer's Lawful Good. Another situation.
Chased out of town after being mistaken for a type of tiefling.
I love that. So he's being chased through town because people think he's actually a tiefling in disguise. A tiefling is like a demonic character. They have horns. An Asmir is someone who is born. This is again D&D, so it's fantasy logic of celestial and a human. So they are divine by nature. They're kind of like an angel in human disguise. Tiefling is a devil in disguise. No, I swear I am not a tiefling. I am not a tiefling. Oh no. And he's going to try his very best not to harm anyone because he's lawful good. He is going to take to his oath and do his very best not to hurt anyone. At the same time, he is swearing under his breath, making penance that he's going to pray to his God later that day to forgive him for all the blasphemy he's saying underneath his breath. Sir Theodore Wellington Whitfield III. The Warforged Fighter, Nobleman, Lawful Neutral. First off, can we just appreciate the suit? Yes. I love how bright orange that thing is. It's for less orange. Alright, situation. Yes?
Someone complimented the suit.
Oh, of course you should compliment my suit. You see, it was made by the seamstress of Britannia III. Well, you see, it is made of the greatest silks in the world. But if you look at the cufflinks on here, you can see he'll go into a 4-hour tirade about how amazing his suit is. That suit was made by a third-hand whack job, and he literally bought it for way too much. He's not an intelligent character. This guy's a negative 8 IQ. He thinks he's fancy. This is a guy who eats food, not needing to eat food. He's a robot. But he would describe the taste as something like, it tastes like a mother's love on a warm Sunday afternoon in December after a blizzard sandstorm. He'll make up a most random taste for this thing. Alright, on to my next group, Warforged Kustos Ritus. The Warforged Blizzard Artificer, Blizzard Chaotic Neutral. Yes.
Chasing after Theodore Wellington to dispel the something clothes that she put on him because he won't pay her for it.
So he's being paid to chase,
No, he's chasing Theodore because Theodore won't pay him for the summon fruits.
Alright. Honestly, he won't be chasing him. He's going to snap his fingers. He's going to summon his own demonic force to come chase him. He's a wizard. Why is he going to lower himself with physical exercise? He's
Ran
going
out
to
of spell
stay.
slots?
Was it?
Ran out of spell slots?
Probably, but honestly, the way I made this character, he never runs out of spell slots. I'm not allowed to play as this character anymore. I have broken games with this character. It is fun playing as a character with no morals whatsoever. And finally, Killian Murphy. That was me a barbarian Floykin. This KO'd up neutral. Give the green hat.
Somebody at the tavern insulted his rune tattoo. Let's just remarking.
He's going to flip the table and throw a battle axe at him. This guy goes from 0 to 120 in 2.1 seconds. This guy, his ideal day is a slaughter. He is just wanting to fight everyone and everything he sees. Again, most of these characters are not very smart. I like playing as tanks. So I don't like to think when I'm playing a game. I want to just beat stuff up. The one time I thought, I was banned from a game. He's going to fight. He's going to have a great time doing it as well. Look at him. He's smiling. He's having a great time. Also Masmir, channeling divine energy. He's just thinking, I'm going to fight today. Thank you. And finally, the last rule, the most important rule. This is the rule that if you don't pass the test at the end, you will fail to make an original characters. Are you prepared?
Yes.
That is a very unsatisfactory answer right there.
Yeah.
This is my 8 a.m. class right now. Are you prepared?
Yeah.
Yes! Have fun.
Oh.
I know this sounds like a really stupid rule, but I have to hammer it into people all the time. My rules are not the testament. These are not the commandments. These rules are just there to guide you. I've been making OCs for so long that I have made these mistakes before. I'm trying to help you not make those mistakes, but have fun making this character. If you're not having fun, your readers, your audience is going to feel that. Going back to the stage rule, you can have those beautiful sets in the world. You can have those talented lighters. But if your character is flat, if they're dull, if they're just not there, they show up in rags, they don't know their lines, who's going to stay for the performance? I'm not. I'm getting my money back. Again, I've been making characters for so long. These are more of my OCs. I've been making characters that make no sense for so long. And some of them look like edgelords. Why? Because I was having fun making these characters. These are characters that I deeply love making, and I'm going to keep making characters myself. Now I'm going to go back to my own rules, flesh them out, make sure they're better, make sure that I can publish these confidently. The only person that has ever made a character they hated and profited from that was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He made Sherlock Holmes. He absolutely hated Sherlock Holmes. He hated everything about the character of Sherlock Holmes.
So why did he make them?
Because he needed the rent money.
Yep.
Thirdly, he made Sherlock Holmes because he needed to pay bills. Third book, he wanted to kill them all. Fourth book, he did. And then the publishing agency, we want you to make another one. I killed the character. Bring him back. I'll do it for 16,000 pounds. That was a ton of money back there. That was like over $1 million.
How do you bring him back?
Literally just survived the fall. That's literally what it
Yeah,
was.
he landed on a ledge.
That's why he could go find the body.
He became the first author to ever be paid professionally to write books. Because people love the character of Sherlock Holmes, even though he hated Sherlock Holmes. So there's always that 1 in a million chance that he could work out for you. But he's pretty much the only exception to this rule. And I still love the guy. If you saw Sherlock Holmes today, he'd be so mad. Even though I love Sherlock Holmes personally. So, what should you take away from this? What should be the crowning achievement of this whole panel to you? Again, it should be have fun while you're making your character, but make sure you are doing your own research. You're making sure that these characters are relatable. That at the end of the day, this is a character you're going to enjoy writing about and seeing everywhere. Because once you put that character out there for the world to see, they're going to remember it. And I've had lots of backlash on characters I've made. Heck, one of my accounts, I still get paid for a character I made. And I somewhat love that. Now, I'm also a terrible person, so I like that kind of hatred sometimes. But it reminds me of what I've come from and what characters I make today. One of the reasons I got to become an OC Doctor is for a competition. Wanderer D over here, I think. Didn't you win the OC Slam Jam?
Which one?
Didn't you win the OC Slam Jam?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the winner of the OC Slam Jam. I got kicked out of round 2. But I had so much fun making this character. Everyone thought it was going to be terrible. And I got up pretty high for it because I made Iron Curtain, a super Soviet pony. Ultra communism. Why? Because I thought it'd be funny. And it was. I wanted the story because I had to teach a kid how to fight. And that's the whole story. Now it's time for everyone's favorite thing, Q&A. This is when you get to ask me questions for free. Before I go back to the vendor hall and charge you for this. Alright, so yes, first question.
What was the character your friend told you was the dumbest he'd ever heard of?
That was actually the first character I ever made. I had this character since first grade. Second grade, actually. His name today is Mega Guardian. Originally, it was Mega Graham. Anyone want to take a guess what my first name is? No, it's Patrick. Yeah, sorry. But I had developed this character for years and years and years. Again, I've been having fun with this character for so long. It's a robot. Actually, it's the one in the middle over there with the hands on its shoulders. And I upgraded this character. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? He's reading through and goes, I hate this character, man. He's way too powerful. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, why didn't I notice this? I wrote panels about making powerful characters. I 100% did not notice this. So, again, you can make mistakes. You can make flaws. Always ask people for help. Next question. Yes?
Do you know anything about how, like, the tavern rule or personality of the character will affect their design? And, like, how you would go about designing a character based on, like, all the background you made for them?
So you're asking, like, how do you make the character personality off their background and all that?
How it applies to their design.
Oh, how does it apply to their design? So let's start, so we'll do a little bit of creativity right here. Let's say you have a character that is from medieval Europe. Their clothes are not going to be the best if they're not from a noble family. A lot of people were serfs during this time. So their clothing and personality are going to represent that. They're going to be rattier clothing, they're going to be in disrepair, or you're going to see obvious marks of this disrepair. Now the personality off that is all depending on what issues you want to give them or what they've overcome. During this time, a lot of people were very religious, so they might have a very uplifting personality because they pray daily and they know the next life they'll be rewarded for their how devoted they were to their religion. Or it could be someone who's like, everything is terrible, I'm living a terrible life, and it's going to affect their personality that way, that they will always see the negative in any situation. So when you're making a character, you've got to, again, do the research about when you're making that character and what ideas would possibly affect that character. And how would they advance through those ideas. Does that make sense? Perfect. Next question?
So this is a question for rule number 3. What are your philosophies on characters whose flaws are also, in a way, their greatest strengths? When they're like both at the same time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So when you're saying that their flaws are very big strength of them,
Yes.
I mean, you can look at the theme for that one. Again, super strength, super durability. Well, the problem is he can never turn off his power, and he's always a stone goblin, basically. Golem. Goblin. Same thing, right? I don't know. But it's, maybe it was beginning with G and now looks at him. But basically, when you have a character with their greatest strength and also their greatest flaw, that's a very fun actual idea. It's like basically how a katana is described. A katana is a beautiful work of marksmanship, a sword that is beyond compare. But if you can hit that katana in the right place, it'll shatter easily. Also with diamonds, if you can hit a diamond in the right spot, it will shatter right away. So that's a very fun character to have, that their greatest strength is their greatest flaw. Again, the Hulk. He's a rage machine. Greatest strength right there. Is he has the powers to become the most powerful thing in the universe. But he's also just a rage. He's just a nerd who is going to keep attacking, keep fighting. Or it could be someone with, like Jean Grey, who has great psychic and telekinetic powers, but sometimes those psychic powers are going to backfire, because you're going to feel the emotions of other people, you're going to read their deepest thoughts, and you can't just say, "You're lying to my face, I know exactly what you're doing." If you want to keep your mutant powers hiding. You know what I'm saying over there? Awesome. Next question? Yes.
Hey, so this question might sound kind of counterintuitive, but how do you know when you have enough lore for your character versus when you don't have enough lore for your character versus when you have too much lore for your character? Does that make sense?
Too much love?
Lore, it's like that.
What was it?
Lore, like stories.
Too much
like
lore.
that. Because like, my character is like, I don't have that much lore because I don't want to think too much about it, but then my friend says like, you should, and I see people with like overseas or like, have like novels length of lore and stuff, and like, I don't know, does that work and stuff?
So you're talking about Token.
Token.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. There's so much lore for that series to begin with. If you ever see his notes before he even wrote the books, there's like 18 more stories in that lore by itself.
Oh my god.
They can make more, but no one can read his handwriting. Which I feel on a deep personal level. Dyslexia is fun, people. It's so much fun. But it's so that's a very complicated question because it's how much more you need to get the story going. Now, if it's going to be an OC that's just like, let's say, it's a tailor, you don't need that much lore because they make clothes, they repair clothes. Sweet, you might throw in like they made a contract with a demon to become the best tailor in the universe, or it could be simply that this is something they've done. It all depends on the world building you're doing along this character that is going to determine how much lore you need. But it's going to be something on a personal level, and it's going to be something that's going to need critique from friends to see like if they understand the character enough. So there's no solid answer for too much or too little lore. It's whatever you can use to get the story moving. And you can always add more lore. I mean, look at Naruto. They added better example, Bleach. How much lore they added to that story over time was insane. I don't even know what's going on for that manga. I know it's ended, but I still don't know what happened. Alright, other questions? Yes, again.
This one's going to be a bit weird, but it really relates to Rule 8. So, I'm always into, like, writing characters and getting into the characters, even if I can't necessarily show the readers certain parts of the characters, like antagonists and stuff. If you're writing first person, you can't always show what other characters are thinking because readers are they're seeing through the tinted lenses of your narrator.
Right.
So I have a story, and it's a very, very weird problem I have sometimes, where it feels like some of the readers are so attached to the narrator that they would let her get away with murder sometimes. And I say that is a problem. You wouldn't think it would be a problem, but I sit there and I like see some of like comments and stuff, and it makes it hard to have fun with the character sometimes when I don't feel like other characters are getting very good.
So again, it's a very complicated question you asked me, and I'm going to do my very best to answer it without having to read the material. But basically, again, it's your character. You're writing for yourself, not for the audience. Remember that fully. Again, sure, Arthur Doyle is the only one who's ever gotten away with that. You're the one who's narrating. You're the pilot of the story. And if you want to make the character have consequences, that's totally up to you. Now, yeah, you might get bad audience reactions, but as long as it keeps the story flowing, and then you can justify it later on that this had to happen, a lot of your readers are going to keep coming back to it. I have done that several times where I will 100% do a 180 on the story, and people are like, what just happened? Why is this happening? Why are you doing this? And then I will keep going on to explain more and more, like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now. And it makes the story a lot more interesting. You gotta give your character trials so they can continue growing into character. Alright, who else? Yes?
How do you approach designing a character that's actually smarter than you are?
Lots and lots of research. I used to have on my old laptop, I had a picture of me trying to understand nuclear physics, where I was trying to figure out where in the chain reaction something can go bad and when, like, how do you counteract that? I spent way too much time reading this and trying to understand it. And I understood it to a point. And honestly, there's a lot of people you can reach out. I did not even know this. You can actually, I actually emailed professors at other universities saying like, hey, I'm working on this for a fiction story. When's a bad time for nuclear stuff to go wrong? And they will send you back the most dumbed down versions of their research to show you it. And it's amazing. I had, one of my favorite stories is from the book series Sharp. Has anyone read Sharp? No, awesome. I'm still the most edgy nerd here. Awesome. It's set during the Napoleonic Wars. And he gets shot in the gut by a musket ball. And the author obviously has no idea what, besides being almost a guaranteed death sentence half the time, he's shot during those times. Because surgeons didn't wash their tools. They had no idea that blood was actually important to you half the time.
Seriously?
They just thought like, meh, you're just missing some filling, you're fine. And then they died from infection 2 days later. He asked so many medical professionals like, hey, if this is during this time, these kind of circumstances, what are the chances of living and what would those like symptoms and recovery be like? And so he got a more educated way of getting the story across by making it still plausible. That's where you need to kind of go with the research, is making it plausible, and also you're making a character smarter than yourself, especially with comic books and all that. Be essence. It's comic book logic. They come back from the dead every 2 minutes. There's no hard and fast rules in comic books. And again, you're the grader. If you say the science works. Even if it doesn't, which I learned. Next question. Yes.
Well, there was one where and this is one that I feel, how would you respond to when someone comes to you with a character, you ask, okay, what's their flaw? And their flaw, they respond is, they're human. I mean, I would be kind of wondering, they're human in what way? Is it like they're overwhelmingly compassionate towards someone? Like, I would kind of be, like, how would I respond to something like that?
When you respond to that, you just give them those human flaws that we were talking about. It could be that they are very compassionate. They are they have a lot of empathy. And when someone around them is hurting, they are physically hurting. My mother's a lot like that. That if she knows someone is suffering, she sometimes gets physically sick because she feels that on such a deep level. My mom, God bless her, she survived cancer. And one of her best friends is kind of given like 6 months to live with cancer. My mom started like getting very sick about that because she remembers going through chemo, remembers going through all of that. That's how, if I was writing a character, I would kind of base them off my mother with that idea that they are so sensitive that they can get physically ill by just hearing that someone they care about is ill. So that could be a very human flaw to give someone. Or it could be the total opposite of that. They're a complete sociopath. They don't have empathy for other people. They don't care. Oh, you are poor? Okay. I'm going to go back to my love and not buy. Just leave. And I've met people like that as well. So when you say a character has human flaws, there's a huge variety of flaws you can get them. And again, making them a human is so much fun. Now, I was ripping on Superman earlier for his weakness being a great rock. Honestly, I would say Batman's more of a Gary suit than Superman is. Superman has empathy. Superman will spend time with people. Batman throws money at the issue. Or batarangs. I don't like Batman personally. Next question? Yes.
You're mostly talking about the OC, but what are there any specific tips you would give for writing characters in a work you created rather than a fan work, or vice versa?
Oh, can you say it a little bit louder?
What tips would you give differently depending on whether you were writing for a fan work OC or an original character in your own work?
Okay, so the difference between a fan character and original work. When you're using fan work, do research on the lore of the world there. So in My Little Pony, we have a very specific amount of laws and rules in place revolving magic, that only Pegasi can walk on clouds, or that Earth ponies are physically stronger. So you gotta fit those inside those rules. Now, you can bend or break those rules if you have if your character can do that, as long as it's a legal way. For a character in your own work, if you look at mine, I don't want to say that mine are superior in any way. They're really not. A lot of these guys are really stupid. Well, not. Well, I need to stop counting how many of them are actually intellectually stupid. But anyway, I can make the rules of this universe really easily because it's my character, and I can start from scratch anywhere I want. If you look at the character, the motorcycle here, I make fun of this guy all the time at works. Because A, I gave him a really stupid name. I gave him a placeholder name that I still use today because I can't think of anything better. Unstoppable. He's very stoppable. His power, he can throw energy at you and then run away. He's a super villain who is not very good at being a villain. And I can make quirks about him anywhere I want. Like, he wears motorcycle gear, has nothing to do with motorcycle. He drives a minivan. Everyone makes fun of him for this. He drives a minivan and he gets angry about that to the point where he's like, yes, I drive a minivan. Yes, it's not a motorcycle. But I get storage. Do you have storage? No. Shut up. Or basically, like, he has bags underneath his eyes. He's very skinny because he can barely afford food. He's a very bad supervillain. He's a thug for hire. And basically, when you're making a character and you're doing all that, you get to make the rules of the universe. So have fun with it again. But again, go back, look at the flaws, and do your research. Make sure that, like, hey, if I'm obeying the rules of my own fantasy universe, am I still applying these rules to this character, or am I bending and breaking my own rules? Like every single anime. Anime will set up these very specific rules.
Yes.
Like, only a stand can hurt another stand from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, we just got rid of that. Okay, only stand users can see other stand users. Note this person can see stands, they have no idea what these are. Just make sure you're obeying the same rules of your own universe. Okay, we got like 5 minutes left. Other questions? Yes.
I know you mostly covered about like the personality of the OC stuff, but do you also like touch upon like the design-wise of your character too, like your fan characters or original characters?
So I didn't really do any world about design because that's very much harder to do because you're making your own character. Their design is completely up to you. Now, thankfully, I know a lot of good artists that I can go to get these ideas. Like the one Sir Theodore right there in his orange suit. My buddy just drew this because he was laughing so much at the idea. I gave him a cane with a sledgehammer. My guy's not that good at being a nobleman. But the design is all about what you think they would wear, and then see how practical that is. Like, this is old, that picture of the bottom left, the one with the two guys. Those are mercenaries. They're soldiers for hire. I drew this picture before I kind of did research on it. No soldier in their right mind is going to wear shoulder guards. They hate those so much. And these guys are mercenaries, so it means they're soldiers beforehand, and they have shoulder armor, elbow armor. Wow. This is why I'm a teacher of English, not anatomy. I don't know what body parts are. You have like, what, 10 bones? Anyway. They hate elbow armor so much. So when you do the design of the character, just going back to that research thing, then again, it's whatever you want it to be. It's free reign. Just make sure you're obeying the rules of the universe you're in, and also, is it practical? Because if I walk around with 6-foot shoulder pads, A, doors are going to be my worst enemy in the world, and crowds are going to hate me.
Very high rank in the space marine.
Exactly. Shoulder pauldrons are.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with just giving an accessory design for a character that you just like. Does it have to be that practical?
No. I mean, there's a lot of characters that have stuff on them that makes no sense. Like, a lot of anime, you'll see them have stuff on their cell phone that has nothing to do with who they are. They just like design. I think other characters that have accessories that have nothing to do with their character at all.
I know a lot of them tend to have like multiple belts that don't really fit them.
Alright, belts for days. Yugimoto from Yu-Gi-Oh! He has like 18 belts on him. I don't know. I could barely handle my one belt. I don't know what I would do with trapping up 18 every single day.
Well, we don't get
Right, but it looks cool. If it looks cool, go with it. Don't ever explain it. Even if someone straight up asks them, like, why do you wear motorcycle stuff when you don't own a motorcycle? Mind your own business. I like the helmet. Makes me look cool. All right, I think I have time for like 2 more questions. Yes.
You made the comment about the JoJo stands.
Yes.
And how somebody might have seen it and not be a stand user. What if they are, they just didn't realize it?
Wait, what?
So if somebody sees a stand, but they aren't classified as a stand user, would that be a character saying that they're secretly a user and don't really know it?
Oh no, it's just the creator of that series forgetting his own rules and 100% just saying someone can see a stand. I love the guy who made JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but he forgets the rules of his own stuff all the time. He even admits it in a Q&A that he forgot that rule. He later on made it a character trait of that person, but at the time it was nothing but just see, oh, this person can see a stand. We gotta make sure he knows who the good guys are.
I mean, if a guy has a serious longing, I mean, they're gonna forget the rules eventually. Like.
Right. All right, one more question.